Yo, so what I want to talk about is this force velocity curve, right? So you see two items on here, right? You see force and you see velocity. At the top of that force component, right, you have your maximum strength, right? And at the far side of the velocity component, you have your maximum speed, okay? Those things are applicable depending on what your specific training is, right? If you're training for a sport like maybe, powerlifting, you want to be at the top of this. You're not significantly concerned with the speed that you do that lift at, but you do have to have some measure of speed, some velocity to generate the force to get the weight off the ground. But ultimately, you're okay being at this end of this curve. Same thing applies oppositionally with speed work, right? If I'm worried about getting the quickest, sprint time or quickest time off a block or something, I'm not significantly concerned with having maximum strength, but I am concerned with being able to still generate power, right, and force, but more so be on this side of the spectrum where I don't need a significant amount of this to be successful here. Where we tend to live, right, as a species, and then as just kind of like as a human athlete, right, we all have to be able to do certain things in this life. We all have to be able to have a binding of these two items, right? So we want to live right in the middle, okay? For us, or for athletes that like need rotational power, right? So again, like throwing up a baseball, right? Even hitting a golf ball, throwing a punch, right? Rotational power, right? Where we have to be able to generate that strength component with that speed component, right? If you think about it in the realm of like, a field sport or even like a fighter, if the fighter is super, super strong, right? He's really, really good at generating force via strength, right? And he can put out like tons of like newtons of like force from the ground up, right? When it comes to lifting weight, like he's lifting like 500-pound back squat, right? That's fine. Ultimately, he's stronger than the athlete who's living in the center of this curve, right? But the athlete who's living in the center of this curve, he's able to generate force, maybe not as much, but faster. So if you figure that, the contact time between like throwing a punch or engaging someone on the field is, seconds. If I can generate force faster, right, in a quicker amount of time than the person who's maximally stronger, right, then that means that I'm going to make contact first, or I'm going to have more force to generate to dominate that fight or that exercise or whatever that is, right, that impact. On the oppositional side, right, you look at speed. Now, again, makes sense to be really fast, and speed does generate force to an effect, but if we don't have the power behind that speed, we're still not going to be able to, maximize our capability. So when you're training, right, you want to train in that realm where you're meeting the right strength component with the right speed component. And it takes matching, right? It takes like, assessing the weight that you're using, right? I should be able to move that weight rapidly, but it shouldn't be so quick that I'm only training speed, or else I'm not generating any force, right? I should be able to move heavy weight because I want to be strong. Muscle is the driver for our skeletal system. It's what moves our body around, right? Keeps us dynamic, keeps us in motion. It's our locomotion system. But if those muscles aren't strong, then you're not going to have any effect, right? You can be as fast as you want, but if you're not hitting contact and making the other person feel you or moving through something like I've mentioned in the past, then ultimately it's not giving you the right effect. So, again, back to the type of training I do a lot of variable things, but when we look at how we train and how I'm training, I'm looking at body's receptivity to certain exercises. I'm looking at how you move under load on certain days, right? We're looking to generate adequate speed, adequate force on a daily basis for every single repetition, for every single round, right? And we're feeling ourselves out. Do I need a little more weight today? Do I need a little more speed, right? Do I need a little more speed on this element? Am I compromising too much speed for too much weight? It's a balancing act, and every individual is different. Every individual person is different, right? They have obviously different mechanics and different capabilities out the gate. Every athlete's different, and even sport-specific training is different as far as what you're trying to get as far as that curve is concerned. So just wanted to elaborate a little bit further. I know I've been using a lot of terminology, and I just wanted to give a little bit more on it. We'll keep digging in on this as things go on, and show more videos and do more little chit chats.